G'day. So Sid and us are going on a little adventure soon, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to show you how we plan our trips. Firstly, we'll get that intro out of the way and I'll see you soon. G'day there. Just putting together a plan for a trip that we've got coming up out to Birdswolf, the Big Red Bash. We're going to scrub a bit of that new off Sid. I just thought I'd do a little video on how I put a plan for a trip together. This is only a small trip, so it's probably a good one to show you on. Yeah, let's get started. Righto, so the first thing I do is make up a mind map. And this just looks like a whole bunch of scribble on a piece of paper, but it's actually got a bit of method to the madness. The idea being that it gets both sides of your brain working together, so your artistic side and your analytical side, and when they work together, your brain functions a lot better, apparently, according to the scientists. This kind of thing doesn't work for everyone. I find it works really well for me. The idea being that you start in the centre, work your way out with all the ideas that you have and the things that you're going to need for, in this case, your trip. And it helps to do little doodles and drawings. It actually really does stimulate your mind into thinking about things that you wouldn't normally be thinking about when you're just writing a list out. Sometimes I find it can be a bit of a menace because you end up with too many things on your list, but it's easier to cull things off than it is to, forget something and not take it. So I start with one of these, and then from there I go to this. Okay, so this is probably going to be a little bit hard to see, but basically what I've done here is created a timeline. It's kind of like a project timeline, but in this case a trip timeline. And so what I've done down this side is taken everything off my mind map and turned it into a list. So I put all those things, they're all in their own categories on that side. Then across the top here, I've put the dates. So the dates starting from today right up until when the event starts. And I'll show you that in that sort of beige colour, so I know that I can't do anything other than the trip in that time. And in fact, I take those dates way past to the next weekend so that I can include packing up, cleaning the vehicle, all that sort of stuff in this timeline. So it's pretty straightforward. It makes it really easy. Again, this won't work for everybody, but it really works for me because I can have a look at this every day. See, the biggest thing that I do is I go into a panic because I start thinking about all the things I've got to do, and I get distracted by every other thing that I've got to do, and I kind of end up not getting a lot done or just getting really stressed out. By doing this, I can actually select a bit of a timeline. I can select days. So, for example here, book and get service done on the car. Well, I just allocate a day that I need to do that. Then I don't have to think about it again. And I've done that with every one of these things on this list. So that all I have to do every day is have a look at this list and say, all right, well, today I need to book the car in for service. And that's really simple. And it sounds really straightforward and, something you can just remember to do. But with everything else that's going on, plus things that are on my social calendar and appointments that I've got and work-related things that are going through my head, I just find it really hard to keep track of all this stuff. So by doing this, I can look at this timeline and go, right, I need to do that today. Now, it's not set in stone, and it does change. You'll find that some things you can't get done straight away. But you get a pencil, you draw a little arrow, colour in another circle, you do it another day. What this actually does for me is clear my head. You can see here now that I've got all this white space, which means that's all places that I'm not doing anything. I don't have to do anything to make sure that I'm running on time to get away on our trip. And for me, that is a huge burden lifted. But anyway, this does work really well. Again, like I said, it's not for everybody, but for minds like mine that get really carried away with a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't need to happen, it's perfect. So the next thing is, from this list I go to the route that we're going to take, and I start to plot out the days and the general outline of the trip. And again, this is not set in stone, but what it does do is gives us a bit of an idea of how long things are going to take and what fuel we're going to need. And that brings us to the next thing, fuel calculations. Because I've got all the distances mapped out, I can make allowance for how much fuel I'm going to need and how much it's going to cost. And again, it's a rough guide. I've actually allowed an extra 200 kilometres there just in case we want to do a bit of diverting and whatnot. And I've allowed for some additional distance in my basic calculations. I'll always allow a little bit of extra budget in case you need it. That's always a bit of a must with everything, actually. So from there, I take our journey list and I can start a menu. I haven't done this one yet, but as you can see, I've got a breakfast, morning tea, lunch, drive snacks and dinner. I will do out a very rough menu for this. It is not something that you're going to stick to, but what it does do is stops you from taking too much food or not enough food. So it doesn't matter how you eat those meals and in what order and what you do, but if you do this list, at least you know you're packing to accommodate what you need and not packing for something that you really don't need. And last but not least, I do up a bit of a list of UHF repeater stations along the route that we're going to go. It has the location, the area that it basically covers or where it is, the channel that it uses, the call sign that it has, the frequency, which isn't really necessary, it's just something I like to put on there, and the location. Now there's quite a few of them there. That's kind of important, not essential, but it's important if you run into trouble, you don't have phone service, your other forms of communication are not working, your sat phone might be flat, or there's a million different cases, something's failed. At least you can jump on and get onto, if you're near them, one of these UHF repeaters and get some help. Now those repeaters aren't everywhere. You can see these big gaps here. So basically, it's not something to rely on, but it's a handy thing to have. Yeah, I suspect that some people are going to be saying, well, it's a bit regimented and, you've taken the spontaneity out of that trip. Yeah, well, maybe, but I don't believe so. In fact, I think it's to the contrary. If you've got a well-planned trip, you've got nothing to worry about. You can tell if you're ahead of schedule, you can tell if you're behind schedule. The opportunities that provides to do anything you want, go exploring, take a bit of extra time, alter your plan a little bit. It really opens up a whole bunch of freedoms and helps you relax more during your trip, I believe. So I think it's well worth the little bit of time it takes to plan it all out. And it really hasn't taken me long. It's probably only taken, probably spent 4 hours on it. So yeah, I think it's worth the effort. Anywho, that's how I do it. People probably do it all different ways, and do what works for you. This is what I've found works really well for me, mainly because it just sets my mind at ease. I really don't have to worry about anything. And yeah, so that's it. Thanks for watching.